Hello and welcome back everyone to Master Game Design, Unreal Engine 5 Stylized Environment and Third-Person Blueprint course. In the last lesson we left us off with a nice material for the sand, but we're still not quite done in regards to that as we set ourselves up with the tile and we have not touched that just yet. So it's quite easy for us to do. All we got to do is just make sure we have the tile selected, and then once you start clicking and holding, well, it'll first of all need to make sure it prepares the shaders and generates it all, and then afterwards you can see that it creates a nice type of a look for the scene. Although in order to remove it, you'd have to basically hold shift and just kind of take it off with this tile selected. Keep in mind that based on the selection of the layers on this section over here, it depends what kind of a weight paint you're setting it up with. So for example, if I were to set it up like so and then go back to sand, I can click and just hold my left mouse button without holding shift and it'll just override that material just like that. So there is something like that, but usually I just tend to just create it using this weight paint and then holding shift to kind of subtract the weight painting itself like so. All right, anyways, we're going to create this quick spot over here. Actually, I'll just create it over here, so we could see what kind of a size we're working with. Then we're going to go on to material itself, and I'm just going to play around with the size a little bit. So for that, we're going to go over here next to where we set up the multiplier for the tiles. And I think I'll just start off with just setting it up to 10, seeing how this looks like in regards to the entire material. Let's just see how this looks, and this looks way too small, so let's go ahead and increase it, maybe something to 5, just halving it what we had before. Let's see how this looks like, and this might look quite all right. Might increase it by a value of 2.6. Experimenting at this point real quick, and actually no, this looks worse, so I'll just put it as 4.5, and hopefully we're going to get a nice result. Go ahead and see how this looks like. And there we go. We got ourselves a nice result. I'm going to go ahead and click play just to see how it looks like for the character. And yeah, this looks quite nice. I'm quite happy with that. Now let's go ahead and make use out of it. So we're going to close this down. We're going to first of all remove this entire section like so. And we're going to talk about how it gets applied on the transition. But before doing that though, let's go ahead and just basically apply it onto the section where the city is. I'm not going to hold it over here. I do want some sandy areas over in this section, so I'll go ahead and maybe adjust this a little bit. I'll take off actually harbor items real quick so we could see what we're doing over here. And this is not needed as much. So I'm just going to go ahead and just keep it something like this. Something like so. All right, and in this area, we just need to basically do it the ones that are heightened up. Probably something like this. I'm not sure where the buildings are completely at the moment, so I'll go ahead and pick the harbor items over here, turn them on, and just kind of play around with the section. Maybe we don't need any of the area over here actually. Maybe a little bit is going to be okay. So in regards to the transition, the way it works is going to be based on the controls of the brush size, sorry, not the brush size, based on the tool strength over here. If we were to lower this, it's going to be much more subtle, much nicer transition, easier to get. So I'll usually set it up to a value of 0.1, and this way we're able to just quickly tap a little bit, and you can see that this is the type of transition we get. It kind of blends in with the sand a little bit. If we get this brush a little bit smaller using the brackets, we can just simply get ourselves this sort of a nicer transition where it looks like the sand is going over the top of the pile. So quite like this kind of a result. Usually that's how I set it up when I'm done with, well, first of all, setting it up for the main part of the area. So this area over here, I'm going to go ahead and hold my left mouse button because the tool strength is quite small now. So I'll just go ahead and just hold it down for a bit longer to make sure it applies it properly in the sections where I want them to be. And this section did as well a little bit. There you go. All right, so yeah, we're done with this area over here. Oh, actually, let's not forget this section as well, like so. Section is going to be quite all right, just making sure that there are no leftover gaps. So now that we're done with this, let's make a nice transition over here. I want a little bit of a sand to just help us break down the surface just a little bit, so I'm going to just tap it slowly until we get this sort of result, and it has a very nice type of a look. And I actually totally forget that we should probably block this path as well in case the player wants to just walk out and it forces him to just go into this section over here. I'll go ahead and go on to the harbor props, go on to the meshes, and where is it? Meshes, go on to blueprint class, just stick this on real quick. And actually I ticked on the wrong one as well. I'm going to go ahead and just disable it. Not going to worry too much about it. And something like this. I'll probably keep this one extra to the side to help us break this down. Maybe a little bit more like so. Like this. So hopefully that doesn't look like it's something easy to climb over or something of the sort. Maybe it's going to be quite alright. Maybe I'll also add an additional one to make it look like it's been blocked off by some parts. And even I'll just bring it outwards a little bit. They're going to be slightly floating, but from the player's perspective, it's not going to be quite as visible as that. Okay, so I'm quite happy with the overall result. And yeah, we're pretty much done with the painting of the section. We now need to just work on certain transitions. Just like I talked about before, we're going to work on that. So as an example, I'll just take a quick screenshot and explain you in regards to the transition. Usually we don't want this to be like this or anything of the sort. We want some sand to be slowly going and creeping in inwards like that, but it's quite a bit hard to work in because it uses the vertices of the area. If we were to click show, and instead of clicking show, I'm going to click on wireframe. These sections over here, I'm actually going to go back to the lit mode, going to select this landscape itself and click wireframe. So these orange sections, as you can see, where they intersect, they each one have vertices, and these vertices are basically what controls the transition between the sections. The only good part about it is that when it transitions, it also makes use out of the normals, the preset that we set up with the weight painting and whatnot, and it creates a nicer type of transition in regards to that. So even though this is more or less the same in regards to the way it was painted, it gets some of the parts transferred a little bit, so it looks like it has more detail in regards to that. And yeah, and keeping that in mind, we're going to go back to the paint mode, just making sure that tab is set to paint, and we're going to make sure that we have layer selected. We're just going to hold shift and just break this up a little bit, maybe something like this, like so. And I'm going to make it look like the sand has been blown off and no one has cleaned off this place for quite a while. So that looks quite nice. This section over here, I think I'm going to leave it as is. Actually, it looks quite nice, like a nice transition from here. And I'm just looking in regards if I need to set it up anywhere else. This area over here, we didn't even use the section, so I'm going to go ahead and keep it as is. This might need smoothing, so actually I'm going to go into the sculpting tool and I will tell you about smoothing tool itself a little bit. Smooth tool basically averages out the vertices. It takes off all the detail, unnecessary detail, and kind of erases all of that and gives us a nicer result. So for example, this one over here, it just looks a little unnatural, so I can use my smooth tool to just kind of blend in the value a little bit. I will change the strength tool a little bit to a higher value, so 0.6. And I will increase this value a little bit, like so, and I'm just going to start tapping it over in this direction. I don't want this type of a section to be looking too steep in regards to over here. And actually, we're going to leave it as is, since the next part that I want to do is going to be building out this terrain. This is looking way too flat to what I personally like, so we're going to continue on with the terrain build in the next lesson. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll be seeing you in a